Green Spring. I'm Bob Zykowitz, your host this morning, and I had two lovely ladies as my guests. Karen Boyce, the director of Garden Ridge, and Karen Hall, our rehab manager. Welcome, ladies. It's nice to have you with me.
Thank
Good
you.
morning.
Good morning.
Thank you.
We're going to have some updates, I assume, Karen Boyce.
Right.
Is that correct?
Absolutely.
So what is new over in Garden Ridge?
So, Garden Ridge is always trying to move forward, keep improving on what we're doing and how we deliver care to our residents. So Karen Hall, Karen and Karen show this morning, is going to talk a little bit about what's going on in rehab department, both inpatient as well as outpatient rehab services across the entire continuum. And then for Garner is just, we ended the year on a great note. We had some great outcomes in terms of the number of things that we were able to accomplish last year. We also have the results of our resident satisfaction survey back. So there's some upcoming meetings where we will be discussing that with the residents across the enterprise, but independent living as well as in Garner Ridge.
I have a question before we get to Karen Hall.
Okay.
Are you notified when personnel from Medicare come to inspect Garden Ridge, or is it a open the door and here I am?
It is a open the door and hello, good morning, we're here from Medicare. Usually for our annual state survey, which I don't know if all the residents knows that we get inspected every year. We typically know it is around March or April time frame. That much we know. We do not know the exact or precise day that they will arrive. So typically they'll just come on the campus, they come to the front, they introduce themselves, and they said, we're here for your annual state inspection. Surprise. So they don't call and say, we'll be there tomorrow or next week. They just kind of show up.
Unannounced.
Unannounced.
If I remember correctly, you and your staff received a pretty good rating last year, 2015. Am I correct?
We did. We had about, the number of deficiencies was 7. The state average is 9. But we had no care-related deficiencies.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Which means it was all paper, more or less paper compliance, that we ran into some snafu in terms of making sure all the T's are crossed and all the I's are dotted along those lines. So this year we hope, every year we try to go for what we call deficiency-free. But that can be challenging because it's like someone coming into your house, several people, not just someone, several individuals from CMS comes into your home and inspect it. And they look at every single thing that you have done since the last time they were there to inspect your house.
Really?
That's how intensive it is. They look at all the documentation for all the care that we provide. They pick charts of current residents who are still in Garden Ridge. And they also look at charts of residents who perhaps were discharged from Garden Ridge. They look at all the programs we offer, the meal services, and all the content of how care is delivered. They're particularly focusing on the clinical outcomes.
This is very interesting.
Yes. So I'll let Karen jump in a little bit because...
Well, I'm going to use myself as an example, but
Okay.
go ahead because...
So I'll switch over to Karen because she'll then talk a little bit about the therapy piece of how it all plays into the how we deliver care.
Okay. I'm Bob Zykowitz.
Okay.
I broke my arm.
Yes, sir.
You see what I have?
Okay.
Okay, now I come to you for a rehab. What would you do for me, to me, and with me to rehab this arm?
Okay.
So there are a couple of different variables there. So it could be, did you come to us from the hospital? Or did you go home from the hospital and now you're looking for rehab services?
Well, let's say I come from the hospital.
So you come from the hospital and you come straight to Garden Ridge. And so we assess you, we evaluate you for what your needs are. We see what is the broken arm now limiting you from doing. Do you need help with learning how to bathe and groom again, or finding alternate ways to bathe and groom as a result of the deficiency now that you have in your arm? From a physical therapy also, we assist in you in how are you getting in and out of bed. Perhaps we're educating you on different strategies also on how to still function in a different manner until the arm heals. If the arm looks like it's going to be functioning differently as a new outcome, then again, how do we adapt your environment? How do we adapt your activities of daily living? How do we adapt your day-to-day function so that you can still function at your highest level, right? And so when you've reached a point where under these skilled services in a subacute setting, you have maximized, and we say, you know, you're doing too great to be here anymore. Let's get you back at home, right? And we'd say, but you know what, Bob, you are so functional. You are walking around. We don't want you to have to sit at home. So let's get you to outpatient therapy,
Okay.
right? So we have a beautiful team of ladies out in outpatient over at Hunter's Crossing, and we would set you up with an appointment. The physician would make sure to write a referral, or we can also recommend that a referral be written so that you can receive therapy services in outpatient. We can contact you, or we encourage you to contact us to set up that appointment, and we get you started right away, often as early as the next day once you leave Garden Ridge, which is excellent.
One of the things that I remember being told by a therapist is pretend I'm drying my back with a towel.
Correct.
Is that in your repertoire?
Absolutely. We use a number of, so we try to really simulate real life activities. And so instead of, let's say, just doing activities where you lift your arm up and down, what function does that serve? Perhaps it's eating, perhaps it's brushing your teeth, perhaps it's drying your back. You know, some people dry their back like this. So really utilizing those lifelike occurrences to put your function back in place, to give you exercises that will help you facilitate those exact motions.
Because remember, the additional purpose or the intent behind what the therapist is doing with you is to get you back to a baseline or a functionality as back to normalcy as possible. Right. So they will put you through a series of exercises, if it's PT and physical therapy, which is different from occupational therapists. And so they'll put you through the number of paces to get you back to a level of functionality, and then hopefully to get you back to home.
Correct. So, and what I'd like to inform the community is that rehab is not just a reactive, right? So physical therapy, occupational therapy, your speech therapy services are not just reactive in the sense that you don't have to come to us after something happened. You know, we're here to prevent decline, to prevent accidents from happening, to prevent injury. So if there's, you know, individuals having falls within their home, within their apartment, perhaps in the dining areas on campus, you know, we're here to assist so that that doesn't become a bigger issue. Maybe we need to come in the home and things aren't set up in the safest manner. You know, how can we assist in making sure that you're safe within your home?
Okay. I am perfectly healthy, had no faults. Could I call you and say, Miss Hall, please come over at your convenience and check and see if I am living in an area or an environment where I would fall, hurt myself in some way? Number two, if you did come over, is there a charge?
So it would be outpatient services.
Okay.
We could, again, speak with the physician. You would get a referral from the physician.
I'd have to go through the doctor first.
You'd have to go through the doctor first to get a referral. Now, I don't want to speak too much on that because Casey Hall, who's one of our physical therapy assistants in outpatient, will be here speaking specifically to that tomorrow in the whole process of the outpatient services and how that functions and how that's charged and paid. But you would be able to receive a referral from the physician in terms of home safety, and the therapist could come to the home and do the assessment.
But the key is the doctor.
Correct.
He or she
correct.
would be the one.
The referral.
The referral starts with the physician.
And now I want to talk about you for a moment.
Yes, sir.
What program, what curriculum did you follow to become an expert in rehabbing I know it's not just something you read in a book.
Right.
It's much
I
more,
wish.
much more than that.
Right.
I do wish.
So tell me about yourself.
Certainly. So I have always worked in the healthcare arena, in the fitness and wellness. And when I graduated from undergraduate, I said, I want to become a physical therapist. I love to serve and help and really help people achieve their highest level of function and really enjoying their life, which is truly why I enjoy Erickson, is that adding more life to your living. So I went to graduate school. I went to Shenandoah University, where I received my doctorate in physical therapy. And so, you know, that was a grueling 3.5 years of graduate school in addition to my undergraduate. But it's very rewarding. I love what I do every single day.
Karen Boyce,
Yes, sir.
when you interview a prospective, this is what you look for. Is that
Absolutely.
correct?
We always try to achieve the best for our residents here at Green Springs. So when we interview any candidate, Karen was a great addition to the team. But like all the therapists or all the team members that we have, we always look to get the best possible candidate, because clearly, if we can get the best of the best, then when they are here delivering care to our residents, then that care is going to be, or should be, the best as well. So it's not always a perfect science. You know, sometimes we do miss the mark occasionally, and we have to maybe turn over a position.
Yeah.
But for the most part, across, I think, Green Spring overall, we do have a great team of folks. And if or when an opportunity arises, as I've been on before and talked about, maybe sometime a resident is in Garner Ridge and they come back to IL and they said, well, my stay was not the best, or folks did not meet my needs, what can I do about it? That's why year over year, as I come on, we always tell folks to please let us know. And it's the same if somebody's in rehab. You know, rehab typically get high marks on their survey outcomes, because, you know, the residents do connect with the therapists and the families. But we do need to know, because that's the only way we can continue to improve and continue to get better in terms of what we do.
I have another little question for you, Karen Boyce.
Okay.
You want to change the policy within Garden Ridge. Do you call a general staff meeting and have as many people there as possible to pass on this new information? Do you?
Well, it kind of depends on what's happening. So let's say something is changing in therapy, maybe a process that needs to change, or something else needs to change in Garner Ridge. Clearly, we want to communicate the information to all the team members. If it specifically is impacting a particular department, we may focus on that particular department. So let's say it's a dining change, or it's a nursing change, or a housekeeping change, or a social work change. You would like to target those specific individuals, because first and foremost, they are the ones that will be interacting or delivering whatever the change is. But then there are times when the rest of the team has to know as well, because they might say, you know what, we know something this way, and I notice now it's been done another way.
Yeah.
So everyone needs to be in the conversation or in the know to know that something has changed. And so we try to execute it and make sure we communicate as much as possible. Yes.
We definitely do not function in isolation.
We
I
do
definitely
not.
I reach out to Karen if there's ever, you know, as the new manager, there's changes that have come about or that are going to be coming about that may be different from how things have been done in the past. And so I reach out directly to Karen. We sit down and kind of flush out the pros, the cons, and how is this going to affect the community and the team, as not just the rehab team, but the entire Garden Ridge team, the independent living team. And so then after we've kind of gone through all the pros, the cons, what obstacles could we face, then we present it to the team, obtain feedback also, and then move forward from there.
And this is the close relationship that you must have, which you do have.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
wonderful.
Yes. We have to, when we, in Garner Ridge and in independent living, when we talk about the interdisciplinary team, that's exactly what it's meant. This is where all the team members that's a part of that process has a stake in the success of whatever we're doing. So for Garner Ridge, it's in delivering care. whether it's on a short-term basis because someone is there for short-term rehab and then they're going to go back to independent living, or if they're moving to Garden Ridge permanently as their home. There's an interdisciplinary process. And so all of those team members should be skilled, whether it's a therapist, whether it's a social worker, whether it's the dietitians, whether it's the doctors or the nurse practitioners, the nursing team. These individuals are skilled or they're experts in their fields. So we bring all of them together because what they bring to the table is their level of expertise and from a different perspective. So they all assess the residents, but they bring a different level, and collaboratively, all those pieces come together. So we call it the holistic assessment of the resident, where you're able to say, Karen will say, okay, I'm a PT, this is my input on my assessment. The speech therapist might say, okay, this is my expertise. The nurse will come and say, okay, here is my clinical expertise. The doctors will come. The social workers are there. Even spiritual pastoral ministries, they give it from the psychosocial spiritual needs of the residents. The program and staff, they meet your social engagement. So all these team members come together to say, how can I make your stay the best possible stay there is, meeting the different needs that you have? Because we're not one-dimensionals. As individuals, we have all different facets and things that we bring to the table, so then the team approaches you from that aspect as well.
Back to Karen Hall.
Okay.
How many therapists in your office or under your jurisdiction?
There's many. So I have, I would say in Garden Ridge, there are 6 physical therapists and physical therapy assistants. There are 4 to 5 occupational therapists, either on a part-time or full-time basis, and currently 1 speech therapist who functions between inpatient and outpatient. On the outpatient side of services, we have also 5 physical therapists and physical therapy assistants. And like I said, an occupational therapist and a speech therapist float back and forth between inpatient and outpatient. We are one team, so we try not to divide what's inpatient, what's outpatient. It's easy to identify them that way.
So there's a total of about...
I would say on the order of 15 to 20.
I did not realize that.
Yeah.
That your office or your area of responsibility was that huge or large. I'm thinking in terms of maybe 5 people.
Oh, no.
Well, that's the full-time staff. And then, of course, we have supplemental staff. We always want to make sure that we are addressing the needs of our community, of the residents.
And I think this is very comforting to the viewer and hopefully all the residents to know that, yes, I will be taken care of
Absolutely.
by the young Karen Hall and Karen Boyce if I have to go into Garden Ridge for therapy.
Absolutely.
Or if you have to utilize independent living for therapy
Right.
as well, because there are residents who perhaps get discharged from the hospital and they don't need to come to Garden Ridge. They go straight back to independent living, and then they pick up the therapy in outpatient therapy as well. So everyone does not necessarily come straight through Garden Ridge for therapy services.
And we are intimately involved in that process of addressing where is your best, where is the best fit for you? Should you be in Garden Ridge? Should you be at home, even possibly receiving home health services? Or should you go straight to outpatient services? We want to do what's best for the resident at all times. And we're here to provide services across the continuum.
I'm so pleased to hear these words. This is great. Getting into the future, Karen Boyce. Can you give me an update as to the construction that is scheduled sometimes down the lane for an addition to your buildings?
So as it stands right now, and I think I have mentioned this before, we're with Fairfax County are trying to obtain our permits. As anyone know, before you can construct a building, and especially one of our magnitude and size, that it has to go through the permitting process. And we're keeping our fingers crossed that we're coming to the end of that process. So we're hoping, and I emphasize, hoping that by the end of the first quarter, which will be the end of sometime in March, or the beginning of April, the second quarter, we could be able to break ground and start some preliminary works with the construction piece. Once the permitting is obtained, there's some other behind the scene pieces of sending it out to bids and obtaining the contractors and some of those pieces. But nothing can move or begin until we actually have permits. There you go. So, and typically with permits, it goes through, the way I understand it, you have the electrical folks that take a look at the plans. You have the plumbing folks, they bring their expertise to the table. And then, of course, you have the building folks itself that looks at it. So all these individuals have to sign off on the plans. It has gone through a first round where they have asked us to provide some additional questions, responses to some questions, and we did respond. So that's why I said we are hoping that we have answered all the questions, and now they're just looking at the paperwork and all the drawing, architectural drawing, and they'll sign off on it. So we're keeping our fingers crossed.
It's going to be a long time yet before we see a completed building.
Yep.
But when the building is complete, what will you house in that building? What programs, if you will?
Right. So it's intended, it's going to be a 4-story building, okay? And it's just going to be a larger expansion of Garden Ridge.
Okay.
So some of it is going to be assisted living, some of it is going to be skilled nursing, some of it is going to be rehab or memory care. So everything that we have currently in Garden Ridge is going to be expanded to the additional building. That's all it is.
Then you're going to be hiring more people.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Good for the economy.
Absolutely.
But
Might be promoting some folks as well.
Good for the residents of
Good for the residents.
Green Spring. That's the important thing.
It absolutely does. It continues to position us in a way that says we're thriving and we're going to be here far into the future to make sure that the needs of the resident continues to be met regardless.
And I've heard you say no resident will ever be turned away.
Absolutely. And so as it currently stands, that is our focus. That is the Erickson focus and commitment, and we continue to live that mission.
And again, to repeat, that is also comforting to
Yes.
the residents.
Yes.
That we know that if I become ill, there's a place for me.
Absolutely. It's also going to be super nice because one of the things that I keep highlighting is we have, we're going to expand the footprint of the room sizes once the construction is finished.
Really?
So that's going to be a little bit nicer in terms of some of the nice amenities that's going to be adding in the construction.
Then
The
I
rehab
ask,
gym will be expanding.
pardon?
So the rehab gym will be expanding a little bit as well.
Well, then, yeah, you'll be hiring some more people.
Yep, yep.
Where does corporate fit into this? Do they, let's say the building is all done, and Karen Boyce says to corporate, now I need some more people. Will you authorize? Is this what, essentially, this is the simplified way of your connection with corporate?
Well,
Or do you go through Ben?
well, corporate is always our partner, so they're in the mix from Jump Street.
Okay.
So along with our board, corporate, Ben, all of us are one team, that interdisciplinary team. This is just another version of it. So we all have sat around and collaborated and have gotten all the blessings and all of those things. So we would not have gotten this far if all the checks have not been checked off and everything has been granted
Really?
already. Yes. Yes. So it's an ongoing partnership that we work closely with. And so by the time we already have tentative staffing pattern for the building and how many team members we will need in what positions, those are things that we have already discussed and can say, okay, we know once the building, which takes about 15 months, 16 months to construct, we're already kind of anticipating, we're ahead of the game in some of that already.
That's wonderful.
Yes.
Karen Hall, do you have any patients who are outside of Green Spring?
Absolutely.
Oh, you do?
Absolutely. We do have patients that come from the external community that live relatively close by in the, let's say, Falls Church, Springfield, Alexandria area that are able to come into the community and use both of our Garden Ridge and outpatient services. Of course, those that come from the hospital perhaps are coming for a short stay, but we really do try to reach out to the community for outpatient services as well. Like I said, the beauty of outpatient services here is that typically you can get an appointment the next day. A lot of standalone outpatient physical therapy clinics in the community, you might have to wait a week, 2 weeks to get an appointment. But here, you call our office and schedule you pretty much the next day, if not within the next couple of days.
And a lot of the times, residents who utilize outpatient services are folks that perhaps came to Garden Ridge from the external for a short stay. They were discharged back to their homes in the community, and they valued the experience so much, so they decided to use the outpatient services as an extension of that. But I want to remind the audience, because whenever we talk about external, folks get a little bit panicky. If I need something, will I miss it? And we continue to say that our resident on the community always first preference, number one.
Number one,
So
absolutely.
that is never an issue in terms of we will say no to someone from the external and accept Eric's Garden Green Spring resident first as a first priority.
And on that positive note, I have to inform you ladies that we're down to the last minute. I don't know where the time went, but Karen Boyce, Karen Hall, you've been most interesting and informative. I've learned a lot. I certainly hope our residents share our interest in learning. So if you'll excuse me, I'm going to read some announcements.